Hi, everybody. My name is Anthony, and I am one of the co-founders of PSP. And I'm also having stage 4 terminal pancreatic cancer as well. And today I'm pretty much here to share with you some of my cancer journey and how it is like to be a terminal cancer patient. I first had parotid cancer in 2013. This was diagnosed back in probably April or May. Back then, it came as a surprise because I just found this tiny little lump that was on my face. There was no pain, but it was really hard. And it was an incidental finding because I was in the hospital for a different reason, that it was more relating to my heart. And right after the diagnosis, I was surprised, and yet not so surprised because, there's Google where you actually go and check for all the symptoms. But a month later, I found out that my then wife was pregnant. So it was a whirlwind, having cancer and a child that was coming to this world. So we tried our best to deal with it. And I finally did my surgery in September 2013. And that was because I wanted to be ready for my ex-wife's final trimester, so that I could be there to help support her, and be there for her in any way possible, with the arrival of our baby. I'll fast forward to now. In 2020, sometime in April or May, I was having some abdominal pain in the upper left quadrant. So it was very strange. The pain was very persistent. I had a lot of bloat, I couldn't eat very well. So something was just not right. Went to the GP, a couple of times, and what we came away with was some gastrointestinal issues, and we were treating it as a gastrointestinal issue. In May, on one fine day, I had this tremendous pain that came on. I went straight to my GP, and I was hoping to get an injection of a painkiller or something to stop it. The GP went ahead and did it, but the pain didn't subside at all. In fact, it got worse. I went to the GP a second time, and the GP said, I think you better go to the hospital. And by then, the pain was excruciating. I literally went home and rolled around in my bed, called the ambulance. I didn't want to distress my daughter, with the arrival of the paramedics and things like that. So I packed my stuff and I went downstairs to meet the paramedics instead. And they sent me to NUH. So I vomited along the way. It was really, really bad. In A&E, they couldn't find the reason at the point of time, and decided that I needed to be warded. But by then I was slipping into unconsciousness. And the last few things I heard, with a blurry vision, I saw some doctors and I heard them say, he doesn't look good. And then they say, better say the high dependency. And this was the beginning of a journey of 6 days where I was hooked up to so many different packets of fluids. I was not allowed to eat any food. I was not allowed to drink water as well. For 6 days, I survived through IVs. And there was this network of tubes that ran all over me. It was a very rough, time. During then, they did a CT scan. They said, I had severe acute pancreatitis, and that was why I was in so much pain. But at that very point in time, they did not spot any signs of cancer that sort of triggered the alarm, or things like that. So it was treated purely as a pancreatitis. What happened after that was that I was very fortunate. So when I went for my follow-up, my consultant actually told me, you nearly died actually. You're very fortunate to have survived. And I was very thankful, that I made it through. Upon discharge after that, I was gradually losing weight quite rapidly. I was having a lot of diarrhea as well. From June to November, there were a lot of stressful things that went on in my personal life. My daughter nearly died. She was having this severe drug allergy that came on during her treatment. So she suffered TENS and SJS, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, where she was blistered from head to toe. And we nearly lost her. And I was going through some personal things as well. And I was going through a divorce then. So there was a tremendous amount of stress. And by then, it was time for my follow-up with the doctor, because the doctor said, something's not right. You should not be having diarrhea. You shouldn't have lost 12 kilos without any attempt to lose weight. So in November, well, after my daughter was discharged, we had an appointment on the same day. So she was seeing a dermatologist, and I was seeing my surgical oncologist, who treated me for my pancreatitis. Our appointment was actually 20 minutes apart. So on that day, they told my daughter, I think it was 2nd December, and they told my daughter, you look good, you look well, you should be fine, you're in the clear. And that was wonderful news because it was such a traumatic time, that was going on for her. It was heartbreaking. Yeah, very, very heartbreaking to see what she went through. As a parent, I think all parents out there, you know how it feels to see your child being sick, and if they're dying, or the possibility of dying and things like that. Then came my appointment, so I went upstairs without her. And my doctor looked at me, and I saw something on his monitor, on the screen. I could see tumors in that particular image on the screen. I looked at my oncologist and I said, it's cancer, isn't it? And he just nodded his head and he said, yeah, Mr. Lee, if you walked into my clinic without the CT scan, nobody would have imagined that you actually have cancer. And I was given the news that it was pancreatic cancer. When I pressed for staging, which was the natural thing to do, it's similar to what I went through in 2013. So I was cleared for 2013, by the way. After the surgery, I recovered. Everything was good. They, in fact, couldn't find any signs of cancer after the surgery. The doctor said, we are very concerned. We are very concerned about your scan. And I asked him again, to be frank with me, I said, please, tell me what's the stage. Is it stage 4? Which is why you're so reluctant, to talk about it. And he sort of nodded his head. He said he needed to refer me to another doctor, on this matter as well. So when I went to my current oncologist, the first thing she asked me was that, do I know anything about my cancer? So in between the time when I saw my surgical oncologist and this current oncologist, I did some research. And I found out pancreatic cancer, being at stage 4, you literally have no chance of survival. So pancreatic cancer is very, very deadly. It's in fact the deadliest cancer in the world. There are few to no survivors, in the stage 4 level. If you detect it early, there might be a chance. But pancreatic cancer behaves in such a way where early detection is not really possible. She told me very frankly, there's no cure. There's no cure, and I cannot cure you. But we will try to prolong your life. We will try to keep you comfortable for as long as we can. With that in mind, I wanted to get opinions, So I went for a second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion. In fact, one of the opinions was TCM. Everyone that I spoke to just shook their heads, and they only could wish me luck. And they said it's definitely, pancreatic cancer. The TCM doctor said it would be better if you came back only after your chemotherapy and whatever treatments the doctor has lined up for you. There's little we can do for you at the moment as well. I sort of came to terms as to how severe this situation was. And so I went online to do further research as to what I could do and where I could get more help. So I realized that, of course, there are clinical trials and there are treatment opportunities even in the US. But to get there, there were a lot of hoops that we had to jump through, and it would cost us a lot financially. Knowing my own financial situation and things like that, I knew treatment in the US was out of reach. So I decided to do what I could do locally. So one of the things that I was fortunate enough in the sense was to participate in a clinical trial which my oncologist offered to me. I decided to go for the clinical trial, and I thought, since I'm dying anyway, it doesn't mean, I'm just going to die. I still can do something good with my situation. So I decided to participate in the clinical trial, and in fact, I signed up for any trials that was being offered to me where they could use my condition to go and research for a new drug or a new treatment method for future pancreatic cancer patients. So the clinical trial began, and I was the only patient apparently that was doing it in the entire hospital. And it involved 10-hour or more chemotherapy sessions. So I literally had to be in the hospital for more than 10 hours a day doing each chemotherapy session, where it involved the clinical trial drug, the standard chemotherapy, amongst other things. It had to be done through this port. So some people, when they see me, when I wear my shirt, they'll see a lump over here. And some people, are a bit curious about it. Do I have a tumor? Do I have a mole? But in fact, this is an implant. It's called a portocalf. And this leads directly into one of the major arteries right into my heart. The drug was being dispensed through here eventually. But when it first started, it was through my veins. And it was very, very painful. It is at that point of time where you sort of understand why some people don't want to do chemotherapy, why some people give up during chemotherapy, the sufferings that the people go through, and it's extremely excruciating. You feel fatigue, you feel pain, you feel all sorts of quite indescribable kind of feelings. And this is not just the physical aspect of things, but the mental aspect as well. I was quite alone at the point of time. It was tough dealing with it, and I just shifted out, from a matrimonial home then, and I moved in with my family. My dad's vegetative, so there was a lot of doom and gloom, that was going on as well. But during this immunotherapy, chemotherapy, sort of a mix kind of clinical trial, it sort of made things worse in that sense. I turned purple-black, over my body. My gums were overgrown. They covered my teeth. Yeah, I never knew my gums could actually do that. I never knew gums could grow so much. Gradually, I started losing hair, and it came out in clumps. This entire process was sort of expected, but until you go through it, then you really know what sort of expectations there are. Subsequently, it came to a point where I was unable to continue the clinical trial, unfortunately, because there were so many side effects. And I also had to carry this pump with me. You sort of see everything very differently. When they first wanted to start this, I had only apparently 6 months to a year. And when you are told you have 6 months to a year, you might not really know how to respond, because I didn't. Because I was trying to compute 6 months to a year. That's all I have left. Was it something that I had to start planning for in terms of my own funeral, the time that I had with my little girl? What were the things I wanted to do? There was so much things that was going through my head after that. You realize that there is no straight formula for dealing with all these things. Everybody has to deal with it differently. Everybody has to look at it differently, because it's a very personal thing. But there are some common things, of course, in place. And one of the things that I had to do was to start creating a bucket list, because when you're told that you're 6 months to a year, there are things that you want to accomplish, or some unfinished business and things like that. You hope to do it. And the first thing that I wanted to do was, of course, for my daughter. I started to plan to do video logs. I wanted to leave her words of encouragement, words of wisdom, birthday greetings, that were being recorded in advance. I wanted to leave her good memories of that. I didn't just want to create a bucket list and do a video log. I didn't just want to prepare for 6 months to a year. I wanted to live on. I wanted to survive and live on for my daughter. I had waited 10 years before we had her, and now that she's around, why should I surrender or give up to this cancer? And I knew that I've gone through a lot of hardship. I've gone through a lot of things in life, and I've overcome each and every one of them along the way. What more for my daughter? So I am recognized as a terminal cancer patient, but I choose not to be a terminal cancer patient. I choose to live on, and I choose to fight. And this is one thing that I wish to share with all of the other fellow cancer patients out there, and their families and their caretakers. Don't give up. Don't give up in fighting cancer. It's a journey. It's a process, but do your best. There is no reason why we should have our lives dictated, by the condition. And I think I am an example. My hair's grown back. When people see me right now, they don't think that I am a stage 4 terminal cancer patient. Nobody thinks and believes even actually sometimes that I have cancer. And I want to be a living testimony to all of you out there that we can fight hard, we can do our best to try and overcome this. And I've exceeded the expectations of the doctors, in fact, and everyone out there. It's been more than 1.5 years since my diagnosis. I'm still around. I wasn't gone within 6 months to a year. People expected me to be bedridden, wrapped up in diapers, all curled up and things like that. And here I am today. I'm walking around, I'm driving, I'm functioning as much as possible as a normal patient. As a normal person. It is vital. It's a mindset. It's true, I still suffer the side effects. I get very fatigued. I still get pain and things like that. But I haven't lost the will to live. So I would like to encourage everyone out there who has cancer to not give up, to try your best, because I think I am a good living testimony that it can be done. My cancer markers are down. My MRI results look quite different. So for my cancer, I have it in my pancreas, in my lymph nodes, in my lung, in my liver, and my entire spine and multiple bone sites. And hence this is why I'm considered terminal. But today, many of the tumors have shrunk. In fact, my spine, most of the tumors are not visible now. It's about the will to live, which is extremely important. Medical aside, is in the mindset. And for those who are around cancer patients or friends and family members, it's going to be hard on you as well. But they will depend on you for the strength and spirit as well. So hence, do encourage them. It's not going to be easy. It's not a pretty process, but do encourage them. And you never know how much this means to them. Because cancer fighting is a very lonely journey. Nobody knows how much we go through and how much we feel. And it's hard to actually go through it alone. So in my case for pancreatic cancer, there's actually no support group in Singapore because most of the patients have passed on.